考定之道皆英语之事，大学习之意皆文化之国。接受 Q&A， 嘉盛家长会。
Just Show Q&A.
嘉盛家长会。
I'm David and I'm 13 years old and I'm from New Zealand.
I'm Yuja, I'm 25 years old. I'm originally from China, but I have been studying overseas in New Zealand for the last 15 years. Susan has asked us here to talk about our experiences studying overseas in New Zealand. How often do you do group projects, David?
Generally, all my projects I've had so far are just single person projects, but I've had one in year 5 and one in year 7 where you had to do them in a group. The one in year 5 was where I was in the top maths group, and we had to create this little graph for to show to the principal, and we had to go to all the classes, hand out these little leaflets so they could complete them, and we came back, completed the graph and handed it in, and that would be counted as a project in primary school. When I was in the year 7 class, our group project was to get 2 cultures and compare them and find the differences.
Right. In high school, group projects are more designed to help students work with others, so they are more popular in throughout the subjects, and they count towards your final score most of the time, and they behave just like any other project. The key difference is that teachers want to teach students to learn to work together. In universities, I can only say about the subject that I studied, which is computer science. In the computer science field, you will most likely be working on group projects, throughout your lifetime. So in my subject, group projects were very, very important. Almost every second project was a group project, whether it be pairing up with one other person, or the biggest group project I've had was working with 8 people. And in that project, we decided that we were going to make a traffic light simulator to help see if we can improve congestion inside our city. And we broke the group project down into doing graphics, doing programming, doing research, and all sorts of other stuff. And each of us were graded on the part that we were done. What determines if you may go to a better school? In general, in New Zealand, you can enter a school that is inside the area that you're living in, no matter what your previous grades were. And if you want to enter a school, a very prestigious school that's outside of your zone, you have to go through a special process. My brother here is actually going through that process right now. He can tell you about it.
So I'm going to St. Paul's, which is a private school that's quite a long way from where I live, and I'm way out of its zone. But because I have exceptionally good grades, I'm allowed to have an interview with the headmaster, and after the interview with the headmaster, he considers you for a while and then sends a letter to tell you that if you are accepted into the school or not.
And it's similar for when you are entering university. Most students enter through university entrance, which is a level that you achieve while studying in high school. But there are a portion of special circumstances, and that includes very gifted students and students that aren't very gifted. The very gifted students, one of my friends did this as well. if they are very talented and they go for an interview with the dean of the school, and the dean thinks that the student is smart enough or talented enough to pursue this field earlier, they can prematurely leave high school and into university straight away. Next question. What difficulties did you have when you first got there? Well, despite learning some English when I studied in China, it didn't help me one bit when I arrived in New Zealand. I couldn't understand anything the teacher said. I couldn't write down the homework, and aside from math, I couldn't really do any other subjects. Fortunately for me, I met a lot of Kiwi friends, and they hang out with me during breaks, in class, after school, and it really helped my English improve very quickly. It took me about 2 years to catch up to a level of English where I can communicate freely with the students and teachers. Do you have any friends that arrived from other countries?
Yes, when I was in year 2, I had one of my friends right now just arrived from China and joined my school, and not trying to be mean to him, but his first day was quite loud. And when I was year 5, another kid joined, but he knew about 2 words, which is hi and no, and that's it. And we had a lot of fun teaching him English, sarcasm intended. And when I was in year 7, we had a Korean child come over, and he knew absolutely nothing. The only thing he could do was sports. The maths we did required a lot of English, and because he knew none, he could not do it, apart from the basic facts. And another one's sort of like the same case, but knew a little English. So yeah, we just had to teach her a little more so she could communicate freely.
And what about the Chinese students? I've met a large variety of Chinese students that come over to study in New Zealand, most of them through university. And I have to say, every student handles the transition differently. Most students handle it quite well, and since Chinese students tend to excel more in math, science fields, when they go into university and take up the papers, the only problem that they encounter is the language barrier. Some students like to make new friends, and they tend to improve quite fast, and other students tend to hang around with other Chinese students to make them feel safe and welcome. These students generally study quite well as well. Their English might not improve as quickly. There are cases where students don't handle the transition quite well. They might miss home, or don't really like the new environment, or the people that they hang out with, and their grades might degrade, and not really suited for studying overseas. But in generally, most of the students that I have met really enjoyed studying overseas, studying a new environment, in a different kind of academic structure. They tend to find it new, interesting, pick it up quite quickly, and since they already excel in the field, they improve extremely quickly. Next question. Are you encouraged to do part-time jobs? David, don't you have some friends that do part-time jobs?
Yes, their part-time job is delivering the newspapers. So long as the teacher says, so long as it does not interfere with schoolwork, it is alright to continue it. But if it does interfere with the schoolwork, he kind of encourages them to stop them for a certain amount of time before continuing.
In high school, the school itself does offer some part-time jobs to students, such as working in the library issuing books, or working in the stationery shop helping at the cashier, and sometimes even in the cafeteria. But it is usually the parents that encourage their child to go out and take up part-time jobs. I myself have done pizza delivery. I've worked in the back of the pizza shop as well. I've worked on a mushroom farm for a little while, and I've also taken a small internship at Fonterra for working inside their lab, and it is usually the parents that encourage the child, and school does offer some opportunities. Next question, how often do you have exams?
Generally we just have one test at the very first week of the first term to see where you're at, and then it depends on what school you're at. Say if you're at an intermediate at Peachgrove, you would probably have a midterm test just to see if you have improved or not, and then at the very end you have a test to see how much you have improved on a certain subject.
Right, and it's not too different in high schools. In high schools you have tests throughout the year, depending on which subject you are. Some might have more tests, some might have less tests. And at the end of every study term, there's usually a test that is quite important for parents-teacher evenings, such as. And at the end of the year, they usually have an exam for every subject to see if you have achieved enough to study next year's version of the same subject. Next question. How do you study English, David?
Well, because I'm still at intermediate school, it's mainly just writing and reading. There's the subject called English. We have split it into two just to make it easier for the smaller kids to learn.
Okay. In high school, there is a variety of ways that teachers teach students English. We do a lot of creative writing, and what creative writing is the teacher can give you a theme, say, or a couple of themes, and allow you to pick one. For example, you're a deep sea diver going to the Atlantic. Create your own story about it. If you're a war veteran in the Civil War, create your own story. Tell her a story. It can be based off a real story, or it can be completely your own. Make something up. We also have other assignments, such as watch a movie and then write your impression on it, such as how was the movie put across? Was it through acting? Was it through the writing? Or was it through camera work? And all sorts of other aspects that you can write about. We also do impressions on reading material, such as through a book, news segments, articles, other people's writing, critique other people's writings as well. It's more about teaching students how to express themselves using English than to teach them the rules of grammar. To summarize, the differences between Chinese and New Zealand school. New Zealand school is more focused on helping the student achieve the most that they can in something that they are interested in or something that they are good at. And they recognize that not every student can be good at the same thing. In Chinese schools, the goal of the school is for everyone to achieve the highest possible they can in every field and become the best student that they can. Anything else to add?
Well, school for New Zealand schools, it starts at 9 and ends at 3 with very little homework.
Cool. And that's all the questions that we have today. For more information about English and English studies, watch for the next episode of Just Show Q&A.
到此一重千里目，谁知才上一层楼。